Alright, welcome to my brew room, aka my laundry room. But I've got carboys under there racked. There's my primary fermenter. Here is my mash tun. Here is my pumping system. It leaks, that's why I have this pot underneath of it with the egg crate on top. Here is my control system for my mash tun. And if we go inside, here's the mash tun. I've got screen here. I've got this big divider. Everything on the bottom works like hot liquor slash strike water. And then down here is the heating element. So we're going to fill this up with some hot water. And then I'm going to add some pH stabilizer. And then we're going to add our grain bill. And we're going to start mashing. Alright, now we got our pump fired up. We're going to turn on our heater control in just a second. But prior to doing that, we want to put in a little bit of pH stabilizer. So I can't really put it in without having both hands. But this is going to set it to 5.2 pH precisely. And I'm going to put in about 3 tablespoons of this. Alright, so we're at 140 degrees and building. Got a lot of water that really agitates the grain bed and really helps dissolve sugars, all that water volume. But we're blasting away. So when we get up to about 150 something, we're going to drop our grain in. Some of you might be worrying, well, don't you need to get it like 170 if you're going to put 15 pounds of 70 degree room temperature malt in there? And not really. This heating element will pick up the difference pretty quickly and get the grain up to mashing temps. Probably within maybe 3 minutes of me dumping it in there. Awesome. Alright, so I let it go to 158 degrees. Now we're going to open it up, and we're going to not pitch anything, I'm sorry. We're going to put the malt in here. Alright, so we got all this malt dumped in here, and we just want to stir it up and let it swirl around. The more agitated and the swirlier it is, the better our efficiency percentage is going to be. Alright, so we got a line going out to the kettle in the backyard. It's this pipe right here. It's going along the floor. It's right here. We're at 154 degrees. It's been about an hour. And the thing we want to look at is that that's nice and clear. Because there's no Warlock with this system. It just recirculates and recirculates and gets clearer. And I'm satisfied with how clear that looks. So what we're going to do is throw this valve right here. Boom. And now we're exporting wort to our kettle. And we want to close that valve. So now everything is going outside. We want to unplug our controls so our heating element doesn't melt the cooler. And if we look inside here, our water level is now dropping below the grain bed. Alright, now we're in the backyard, and you can see all our wort is coming out from downstairs, just like so. Uh-oh, we got a little bit of backyard trash. That just adds character to the beer. Alright, we've just barely started to boil. So I'm going to get ready to throw the first hop bag in with the bittering hops. Important to avoid boil over. We're at the hot break stage of the boil. Hopefully this collapses and redissolves into the wort. If it does boil over, I got to be ready to cut the gas down. Here's my hop bag. I have not put it in yet. Alright, I just dropped in my bittering hops. We'll be back in 50 minutes to put in the aroma hops. Alright, we got 15 minutes to go in the boil. So I'm going to put a tablespoon of this Irish moss in there. And we are still boiling away. Alright, 5 minutes left in the boil. And here go the aroma hops. Bombs away. Alright, so I'm done boiling. And I don't like using a wort chiller. They're too slow. I feel that they're too slow. So I've calculated my exact volume of top-off water. So I have right here, I have a 20-pound bag of ice. And then I measured an additional quantity of ice that I put in the bottom of my fermenter, which when melted should constitute approximately, if not almost exactly, the right amount of top-off water I need. I've also rinsed these bags with Star San to get them relatively sanitary, and ice is generally sanitary because it's frozen at the grocery store at like negative several degrees, so there's not many bacteria that can live on it. Probably some, but not much. I've done this a lot of times. I don't get infections from it, or I have yet to get an infection from it. So I'm going to take this bag here, I'm going to dump it in the kettle that's in the backyard, and then I am going to, this is in sanitizer right now, I'm going to use this as a siphon, and I'm going to siphon all that beer into the primary. Alright, so we are siphoning away, and this is all the beer outside. I got some muslin bags I'm using as filter media, and there's a screen in there too. I just want to strain out all the Irish moss and little hop bits, and we are underway filling up our primary fermenter. Spadoinkle. Alright, so we're done siphoning. The primary's full. I got my blow-off tube set up. Let's pitch a couple of these bad boys in there. Alright. Wrapped her up. Keep her nice and dark. She's all tight. Tight like a drum. We got my blow-off tube set up. Yeast has been pitched. And we just sit back and wait for some bubblage. Alright, so it's been about 12 hours. It's the next morning. And this is primary fermentation at its best. You can see we're really foaming up the bottle here. That's the blow-off tube. And here we go. Alright. Alright, so it's been about 5 days. And we're still getting quite a bit of fermentation. It's not quite as heavy as it was. And there's not a lot of krausen going through the blow-off. And there's not a lot of krausen going in the jug. So I think it's about time I pull this guy out and stick in an airlock. Alright, so the blow-off tube has been removed. The airlock has replaced it. And I'll just keep an eye on this over the next few days or weeks. And when it stops bubbling, it's time for a racking. Alright, so now it's been about 11 days. And airlock activity has fully ceased. Primary fermentation is pretty much finished, mostly finished. So now we're going to rack and let things clarify. You look over here, here's beer I already have racked. So today we should be adding 3 more carboys. Alright, so what I'm going to do is this spigot here, connect this to it, and then with this tubing we rack into our carboys. That's after this is sanitized, of course. I'm going to sanitize all this, and then we're gonna have to clean this big behemoth out, which sucks because all I have is a carboy brush and I have to clean it out through these two bungs. But I got a way to do it, and I'm gonna do it. So here we go. Alright, so far in this video I've been omitting showing people sanitation, but just no, I've been sanitizing everything. Here's my airlocks and plugs and sanitizers. This is my racking tube and sanitizer. This is a sanitized water bottle. That's a sanitized water bottle. That's a sanitized better bottle. And I put sanitizer inside and on my spigot. So the beer shouldn't really contact any surface that hasn't been sanitized. Alright, so here we go. Whoa. And we're racking away. Sweet. So just do this 3 times and we'll have 3 full bottles. Get this guy filled up and these 2 guys filled up. Alrighty. Alright, this is 1 down. 1 still filling up. And 1 more to go. Cool, cool, cool. Alright, so I got quite a lot of beer on the shelf. And then these 3 on my latest batch. So now I've got these all racked. And I need to clean this guy out. And then this keg down here is empty. So what I'm going to do is sanitize this keg, and then I'm going to siphon this beer here, which is a rye saison, into the keg, force carbonate it, and then I already have another 5 gallons of this same beer tapped. So what we'll do is we'll do a tasting. Cool. And then you'll see my whole beer process from grain to glass. Alright? Alright, so I've been busy scrubbing out this guy. These are put away. So I pulled out this guy because this guy's ready to go in the keg now. So you can see the kegging process. This rye saison's probably about 6 weeks old. So it's nice and aged. It might be pretty clear. I did use Irish moss on it, and yeah, it's very clear. So you might remember from my old videos when I racked, I just put a funnel in the top of a carboy under the spigot, and people were like, "Oh no, you're aerating your beer," which turns out was the case, but it would really take about 7-8 weeks before I noticed any kind of like a cardboard oxidized flavor in the beer. But some of these, I've got a barley wine here that's already 5 months old, and I probably won't drink it until it's a year old. So because some of these, most of them, you know, are several weeks, if not months old by the time I drink them for the first time, I'm really focusing more on preventing oxidation than I am filtering through, you know, filter media in a funnel, which tends to work out pretty well just because I still get really clear beer, just because I have such a long secondary. I have such a massive stockpile of beer on the shelf all the time that that I don't really run out too quickly. So that's the way it's working for me now. Just a long secondary is the way I'm clarifying my beer. Even though I do filter with muslin bags still at the beginning when I go from the boil to the fermenter. Alright, but I'm going to keg this. I already have a video that shows how I force carb. Basically, I just put the tank on it at 30 psi and rock it for 7 minutes, which is what I'm going to do. So we'll get this kegged up, and then the next thing we'll see is me pouring a beer and tasting it, and I'll tell you how it went. Alright, carbon up, carbon up. Alright, let's pour ourselves a pint. What do you say? Alright, so we're looking a little cloudy. Obviously there's some chill haze. This is supposed to be a rye saison. It was brewed with almost all Pilsner malt and about 5 pounds of rye. It's sort of a little lighter than a penny. I'd say deep gold, light copper in color. And we've got maybe about a finger of head, which is receding. A little bit of a raggedy edge, which maybe indicates that there will be some lacing. Alright, so greetings and salutations. Let's take a smell of this first. It smells like Pilsner malt and rose petals. And it has sort of a straw grass kind of, well, not grass, I would say more of like a straw kind of smell. Like a maybe dried alfalfa or dried wheat. A little bit of ester on the nose, a little bit of a spicy smell, kind of. Very, very faint though. I'm going to take a sip. And you can see it is leaving some lace, even though it doesn't taste, it's a pretty light body. The color comes from some dark brown candy syrup that I added during the boil, because the grain bill from this was extremely pale. This went into the boiler, the kettle, like a pale yellow color, and then the copperiness is from the candy syrup. It's not a lot of body, but it is leaving some slight lacing. The flavor is good. It's kind of fruity. A little bit of phenol, no diacetyl, no butteriness to it. A little bit of phenolic character. More of an estery profile. A lot of spice, a lot of cloves. Sort of sweet. But not too sweet, and sort of really refreshing and light. This would be a good session beer. Actually, I already know it's a good session beer. I think I drank 7 of these last night. So it's lower on the alcohol side, probably, you know, high 3s, low 4s percentage-wise. So you can drink a lot of them without getting really intoxicated. It's refreshing. I haven't gotten a hangover from drinking this yet. It's good. I like it. I like it a lot. But so we started with grain in a mash tun. We mashed that grain, we boiled that grain, we added hops to it, we transferred it to a fermenter, we waited a week and a half, we racked what was in that fermenter to carboys. Those carboys aged for weeks and weeks. We kegged what was in them, force carbonated it, chilled it, served it, and now we're drinking it. So all in all, you know, 5 weeks of waiting and working, and we get a lot of really good, delicious beer. And you saw it in another room. I basically never run out of beer now. I always have a barrel or more on the shelf of assorted batches. So cheers. Here's to homebrew.